Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, council members, city officials, and our streaming audience. I would like to welcome everyone to the April 24th City Council meeting. We have 12 items on our agenda this evening, and we're meeting here in council chambers with public attendance as well as streaming live on YouTube. Moving forward, if you would, Ms. Moss, please continue with the roll call of the members.
Thank you, President Geringer. Greg Phillips.
Here.
Payne.
Here.
Nickerson.
Here.
Barnes.
Here.
Henderson. Brown.
Here.
Preston.
Here.
Anthony Phillips.
Here.
Prohl.
Here.
Do we have a motion to excuse Ms. Henderson from tonight's meeting? I have a motion by Mr. Brown, seconded by Mr. Greg Phillips. Roll call on the motion to excuse Ms. Henderson.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
The motion passes. At this time, if you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
President Geringer,
Ms. Preston.
I would like to make a motion to amend the date on the council agenda to today's date from April 10th, 2023.
Motion made by Ms. Preston to amend the date, seconded by Mr. Tony Phillips. Roll call on the motion.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
The motion passes. The minutes of the previous meeting have been distributed for review. Do we have any additions or corrections to the minutes? And if not, do we have a motion to accept the minutes as they are? Motion by Mr. Brown, seconded by Mr. Tony Phillips. Roll call on the motion to accept the minutes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
The minutes have been accepted. We'll now move to reports of our committees. We'll begin with Community Affairs Committee, chaired by Mr. Greg Phillips.
Thank you, President Geringer. This will be a little bit lengthy, at least lengthier than normal for Community Affairs. First, and this may be one of several, but I do want to extend my condolences to Chris Fossen and family at the passing of longtime City Council figure, John Fossen, who recently passed. Served as a sitting council member, which does surprise some, but obviously spent 30 years as clerk of council. I'm going to kind of just leave that there and just say, please remember them in your thoughts and prayers. Dustin may have more to say, being that he served obviously a lot longer at a council position with John, but I just wanted to extend my condolences and thoughts to the family. Community Affairs this evening has nothing on the agenda. We did hold three, I should say nothing yet. We did hold three committee meetings at 6:30. The kind of go in reverse order here. 22-137, which is an opioid settlement fund issue for Freeland Associates, and we have our committee decided to just move that and allow the, hopefully in a very short amount of time, the nonprofit committee fund committee to pick that up and have that discussion. We also held a discussion about item 23062, which is the community yard sale fee waiver. We decided to approve that and move that on to the law director for review and hopefully get that on next council's agenda. And then the last council committee that we had for community affairs was for the Hope Partnership Agreement with the City of Chiillicothe. This was actually approved at the August 8th, 2022 City Council meeting. There was an invoicing situation where the invoice was not delivered within the fiscal year 2022. And so when we were in receipt of said invoice, then we felt that it would be necessary to at least have council action, even though this is not any new monies. These would just be monies being that were committed to that being still used for the same intent. Any further funding for the Hope Partnership would obviously come through their presentation that they agreed to do and would also go to the nonprofit funding committee. So what I'm going to be asking to do, since there's no new legislation with this, it is just simply paying an invoice of previously agreed upon legislation. I'm going to ask to have this item placed on tonight's agenda. I will then obviously ask for the waiver of the 3-day receipt rule, and then at the appropriate time, I will ask for the waiver of the 3-read rule so that they can get their monies paid. The city can kind of get that taken care of. So at this moment, it's as good a time as any. I am going to be asking to have agenda item number 13 added to tonight's agenda as committee assignment 23-038, which will be the payment of the Hope Partnership invoice.
Motion by Mr. Greg Phillips, seconded by Ms. Preston. Roll call on the motion.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
The motion passes.
President Geringer, I would like at this time, I would like to ask for the waiver of the 3-day receipt rule for that item that we have added to tonight's agenda as item number 13.
Motion by Mr. Greg Phillips, seconded by Ms. Nickerson. Roll call on that motion.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
The motion passes.
And with that, this concludes Community Affairs Committee report. And we do now have item number 13 on this evening's agenda with emergency language. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll move to Human Resources Committee with Ms. Payne.
Thank you, President Geringer. I would also like to extend my condolences to the John Fossen family. I do not have a committee report this evening. However, I do have a new assignment number 23-061, and this is for summer part-time clerk for the Law Director's Office. We will have a committee meeting this Wednesday evening, April 26th, here in Council Chambers at 4:30 for this assignment. This concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving now to our Development Committee with Ms. Nickerson.
Thank you. Development has nothing on the agenda this evening, and therefore we have nothing to report. Thank you. Oh, you can't. Development has nothing on the agenda, and therefore nothing to report. Better? Good. Thanks.
Thank you. Next, our Finance Committee with Mr. Anthony Phillips.
Thank you, President Geringer. Finance has nothing on the agenda tonight, and we have no other business to discuss. I'm sure that will change in the near future, and we'll be back in business, but I'm enjoying it. Thank you.
Next, to Parks and Recreation Committee with Ms. Henderson in her absence. Are there any reports for Parks and Recreation?
President Geringer, I'm going to give Ms. Henderson's report. Parks and Rec has 3 items on tonight's agenda. Those would be numbers 9, 11, and 12. 2 street closures for Makers Fair and for the Yellow Day coming up next week on May 5th. 1 acceptance and appropriation of funds for a light in the park. She did have some information to add, as she usually does. Repairs to the tennis courts in the park will start soon. The Wade Street Park had a pop-up community feedback to vote on a final blueprint, of which those were donated by the students. Upcoming events: the William Gozy Parade this Friday, the community plant sale May 7th. The Canopy grant funds are being utilized across the city. Soil and, it says, truck injections. I'm not sure. I guess maybe that is correct. For the city's ash trees will begin soon, and this is to prevent the emerald ash borer from destroying the trees. So if you see some work being done in and around or on trees, that is most likely what that is. And at the appropriate time, we will ask to waive the three read rule on numbers 9. That would be the appropriating $577.07 for the floodlight at the head of Yoctangi Park, and for item 12, and that's the resolution expressing cooperation, granting a certain portion of Paint Street to the Chiillicothe Yellow Day organizers. So on 9 and 12, we will be asking to waive the 3 read rule on those, and that concludes the report for Parks and Rec. Thank you.
Thank you. Upon review of the agenda, item number 3, I believe, is under Development Committee, and wanted to see Ms. Nickerson if you did have details on that agenda item. Apologies.
Thank you for pointing that out. I was looking everywhere for that. Didn't see it. Yes, good. Nope, we're just going to move forward with that as is. Street closure changes. Thanks.
Thank you. Next to Transit and Safety Services Committee with Ms. Preston.
Thank you, President Geringer. Safety Services has 7 items on the agenda tonight. The first one is a second reading, is number 1, a second reading of ordinance approving EMA pay rate increases in accordance with the city's joint relationship with the Ross County Commissioners, and appropriating funds in the amount of $2,000 to pay the city's annual county-wide emergency management agreement invoice and declaring an emergency. Number 2 is a second reading of an ordinance appropriating $2,074.95 to cover the cost of the city's subscription for the Wireless Emergency Notification Center and declaring an emergency. Number 4 is a first reading of an ordinance appropriating funds to partially pay for the replacement of a damaged police cruiser. These were funds received from an insurance claim. Number 5 is a first reading, an ordinance accepting and appropriating an Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation Safety Intervention Grant and accepting the terms of the grant and declaring an emergency. This will go towards some safety equipment for the fire department. Number 6 is a first reading of an ordinance declaring a certain city-owned CAT 420 backhoe and not needed, that is obsolete and not needed, authorizing the safety service director to trade in said backhoe toward the purchase of a new backhoe and declaring an emergency. Number 7, an ordinance appropriating $7,500 for tornado siren repairs and declaring an emergency. And number 8 is an ordinance accepting and appropriating $400 received from the Ross County Auditor's Office for the Chiillicothe Police Department's participation in a mental health first aid training. And that'll be all I have for this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Next to our Utilities and Engineering Committee with Mr. Prohl.
Utilities and Engineering does not have anything on tonight's agenda, but as Greg spoke to, I did want to mention John and kind of share some remembrance of him, because John served as clerk of council for most of my time on council, and 5 different council presidents in that time alone. He always had the city's best interests at heart, and it didn't matter what the topic. He always had a informed opinion. He always served as a guiding force on council, and even as clerk of council, he was able to make sure that we stayed on the right track. He was a fountain of information and had a great knowledge of council's history, and I liked sharing that with him and speaking with him. And over time, you work with somebody that long, you become good friends. And when he would drop off a council packet, we always took time to chat. And my daughters loved to, pet his dogs. He'd bring his dogs up with him. And, that was a big part of my early time on council. And, many times he provided guidance that kept the city, out of trouble. He would understand, the details of why we shouldn't do something, because he had that legal mind. And not only was he a clerk, but just as a citizen, he wanted to make sure that we had the best information that was available to us. His departure from council was definitely felt. He has been tough to replace, and we've had some great people step in to try to fill his shoes. But he did leave a big shadow, and his passing itself is felt. But I know that if God needs a quality clerk who's going to be dedicated, he just got one. And John, you will be missed by all of us. And thank you, and to your family. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Prohl. From there, we move to reports of our elected officials. Our mayor, Mr. Luke Feeney.
Thank you, President Geringer, and I'll echo those sentiments that Councilman Prohl and other council people have mentioned. John was a good person to work with, and without a doubt had the city's best interest in mind at all times. Commenting just on tonight's agenda, I'm going to lump a few things together. I'm going to just lump together items 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. I did not get a chance to talk to Councilman Preston before this meeting. Several of these items, if not all of them, are sort of in just regular business. Maybe we did talk about some of these, but replacement cruiser, a lot of these are where appropriations have already happened. The backhoe, council's already funded the backhoe. We're just trading in another one to complete the purchase. The tornado sirens, as soon as the money's appropriated, we can start repairs. And then I think the number 8 was just an accept and appropriate. So if council would so choose, I would ask for a waiver of the 3-read rule and passage of those tonight. And then just a few other housekeeping items. We have 3 really major projects that are about to go up for bid. 2 of them have been pending for quite a while. The first is the big Bellevue construction project, which is a water, sewer, sanitary sewer and storm sewer, and paving project. That's being bid. That's approximately a $650,000 project. In addition to that, the entirety of Bellevue will be paved this year. So there's going to be a lot of work on Bellevue this year. That Bellevue project will be a part of this year's paving project, which will approach $1.5 million before we use some grant money. So it'll be a big year for paving. That's going out to bid likely this week. And then the third one is the Pepsi building construction plan. Now that the roof insurance portion is done from the storm that happened recently, now that portion of it is done, that project is ready to go out to bid. So lots of stuff that's been up in the air for a while. All 3 of those are going out. I think that the street list will be finalized this week, and we'll publish that so that everybody can see all the streets that'll be paved this summer. Echoing Councilman Greg Phillips' comments about the ward, 6th Ward pop-up park event, good event. I think we had something between the in-person voting and then different events at schools in the YMCA, something like 500 or 600 votes cast. So there was a playground selected. I believe it was, I think it was A. I don't want to misspeak, but I think it was A that was selected. And we did close on the property last week, the donation of the property. So that was an exciting thing. And I suspect that the injections were probably tree trunk injections and not truck injections, but I'm not certain on that one. But tree commission, we accepted $50,000 EAB grant that Mr. Phillips was referencing. Our tree commission does incredible work. I believe that grant was maybe we were one of 2 entities in the country that was recognized for that level of work. And we get a lot of great value out of our tree commission. So I just want to thank them publicly. And then thank and congratulate everybody who took part in the Buck 50 over the weekend, and people who were patient with runners in the road and the blocking of streets and that sort of thing. And then the runners themselves for enduring some weather events in the middle of the night and that sort of thing, all for a very good cause. And another thing that sheds a positive light on Chiillicothe. So thank you. That concludes my report.
We'll now move to our law director, Ms. Villarreal.
Thank you. I just have a short report. As I told you the last time, that I was going to be attending the Ohio Prosecuting Attorneys Association training because of the new laws that are recently passed. I did do that last week, and it was actually quite good. So I brought home a bunch of information, and we'll be dispersing that to the assistant prosecutors to get the city in compliance with those new laws. I wanted to echo what everybody is saying about the passing of our former clerk, John, but I also wanted to state that he was also a very successful retired attorney in town for many years. He had a huge practice. He serviced a lot of people and did a lot of good things for this community through his legal practice. So he's going to be really missed, and he was loved and highly respected by the legal community. And that's all.
Thank you. We'll now move to audience participation. Council Rule 22 does limit each speaker to a 5-minute presentation, total limitation of 15 minutes per any single subject. If you get to the point where you're getting close to 1 minute left, I'll try to indicate to you to summarize your presentation. Anyone who wishes to speak, we do need for our records your name and address.
Probably loud enough. My name's Cindy Stevens. I live at 371 West 5th Street here in Chiillicothe. I'm representing the Caboose Maintenance and Restoration Fund. And in the last few weeks, things have been a little crazy at my home. But to light, some things have come forward to us. And so at this time, I'd like to thank you all for listening to my proposal the other day. And that apparently we have some new things in the works that possibly will assist us with the cabooses at this time. It's probably not going to happen as quick as we would like. So we have contacted our contractors to let them know that we're not going to be able to move forward as quickly as we thought. But I do want this community to know that they're going to stay here one way or the other. I want everybody to understand that the process for saving these cabooses is a very important part of our history here in Ross County. I think that it really doesn't get the actual recognition that it should have. If we didn't have a railroad, we wouldn't probably have too much of Chiillicothe here. And so those two little red cabooses over there, they may not mean much to anybody, but they really were part of making Chiillicothe who it is today. So I'll probably be out on my corner, still asking for some money. But I'm hoping that we can come to a solution that will be good and beneficial to everyone. Thank you for listening to me, and keep watching. We're getting ready. Thank you.
Hi, I'm John Thacker, 990 Columbus Street, apartment 307 here in Chiillicothe. I voted for C, which did not win, but I don't think Dominion voting system did the tally, so I don't think we have to worry about anybody being assessed $750 million as any kind of payment through a suit of any sort. So thankfully, I think I'll accept the vote tally and say congratulations to number A. They won deservedly. So secondly, it was a great event. I saw Mrs. Henderson was there, as well as Jamie Brown and the mayor. It was a great chance for my East Side neighbors to see the trolley, and some of them for the first time, and I can assure you they really, really, really liked it. So let's do that again, if anybody has any kind of pull on that. Anytime we use the trolley, it's a great thing. Quickly, I only got 5 minutes, so congratulations to the MC job that you did for the prom. That was you, wasn't it? And it looked like they had a lot of fun doing that, as probably did you. If he's looking for another job down the road, I think that I would say just MCing would be perfect. What do you think? You never know. Finally, again on the trolley, on Friday evening, I was again on the trolley in the afternoon. A mother and her son got on, and during the course of our conversation, he was impressing us with how much he knew. He knew how to spell trolley. He had come in second in his class's spelling bee, and so at some point someone asked him, "Well, would you like to be mayor someday?" And he said, "No, I want to be president." I guess he has his priorities. Exactly. So I don't think you should take it personal by any means. It may well be that this young 9-year-old has not seen a mayor of Chiillicothe with the same color skin he has, but he has seen a president with the same color skin. So perhaps that made some difference. I will say, though, that I had a conversation earlier this evening about if you ever wonder why you're here doing what you're doing, it's for that 9-year-old boy, or the children that are pinned at park, or even the kids that are at the high school having fun on prom night and probably went to Yakanji Park and to the courthouse and had their pictures taken. That's why all of us are here, this side, that side, even people who are outside of this who come here from time to time. That's why we're here. And then for their children and their children. So I would say, I wish I remembered his name so you could vote for him for president down the road, but I don't recall it. But well, watch for him. I'm sure he's going to go great places. And in Chiillicothe, anybody can go great places. So, thank you.
My name is the Reverend Terry Williams, and I reside at 47.5 East Main Street here in the city of Chiillicothe. I just wanted to take a moment to add my voice as one on this side of the divide in memory of John Fawson. You know, Chris and Marianne and his whole family should be very proud of the man that filled so much of their life and filled so much of our life. I was thinking as I was sitting here, there were many, many council meetings over the last 10 years where it was just folk on this side and a reporter or two and myself and maybe Connie Riley sitting out here as council watchers. But John was consistently and always aware of what was going on, how to best resource people, and in a way that, frankly, no one else can do, right? We had kind of a bonus law director almost for that period of time because you had this keen legal mind that was in that space. I just took a moment to think through the people who have been in your positions because there's a lot of turnover on council during the time that John was here. And in just the 10 years that I have been here in this place, the following people have served in your positions and served with John Fawson: Tom Trutchell, Beth Neal, Nancy Ames, Aaron Hines, David Clay, Alicia Gray, Lana Fairchild, Dave Tapman, Joel Florima, Bill Showman, Courtney Lewis, Pat Patrick, Tara Gillum, Bill Bonner, Seal Corcoran, Gene Kearney, Josh Carty, Devin Shoemaker, Napoleon Cross, Rick Reinhardt, Tammy Leonardo, Bruce Arnold. And 4 of you here, Kroll and Payne and Greg Phillips and Nickerson, you served with him as well. I can't think of a single person in that whole group, if you ask them about John Fawson, wouldn't give you a good recommendation and a couple of great stories as well. John was a fantastic person, wonderful graduate of my alma mater, Waverly High School. We will miss him terribly, I know, and I know that you who knew him here miss him as well. I don't know what can be done to honor John in this place as we go forward, but I feel like anyone who served 29 years as council clerk and then additional years in the council as a member certainly deserves that honor. I appreciate all of you in this place, and I hope you know that wherever John is, he's definitely working the clerk's office and likely with some of the folk who've gone on as well. Thank you.
We will now move to old business. Does anyone have any old business that they would like to bring up this evening? Not seeing any participation or correspondence received by the clerk.
Thank you, President Geringer. I've not received anything.
Now to new business. Does anyone have anything new?
President Geringer.
Yes.
I believe to be in line with the mayor's request, item number 4 and number 8, I'm going to have to amend those and add emergency language to those 2 items.
Motion made by Ms. Preston to add emergency language to items number 4 and number 8, seconded by Mr. Greg Phillips. Roll call on that motion.
Greg Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Anthony Phillips?
Yes.
Prohl?
Yes.
Motion passes.
President Geringer,
Ms. Preston.
I believe I would also like to waive the 3-day receipt rule on those 2 items.
New business. Does anyone have anything additional new that they would like to bring up? So from there, we'll move on to our legislation. We now have 13 items on our agenda this evening. Ms. Moss, when you're ready, please start with item number 1.
Thank you, President Geringer. Item number 1 is the second reading of an ordinance approving EMA pay rate increases in accordance with the city's joint relationship with the Ross County Commissioners, appropriating funds in the amount of $2,000 to pay the city's annual countywide emergency management agreement invoice and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer,
Ms. Preston.
would like to request to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on this item.
Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Ms. Payne, to waive the 3-read rule. Roll call on that motion.
Greg Phillips?
Yes.
Payne?
Yes.
Nickerson?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Anthony Phillips?
Yes.
Prohl?
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Payne?
Yes.
Greg Phillips?
Yes.
Barnes?
Yes.
Nickerson?
Yes.
Preston?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Anthony Phillips?
Yes.
Prohl?
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 2.
Item number 2 is the second reading of an ordinance appropriating $2,074.95 to cover the cost of the city's subscription for the Wireless Emergency Notification Center and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer,
Ms.
I'd like
Preston.
to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on this item as well, please.
Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Mr. Anthony Phillips. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Prohl,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 3.
Item number 3 is the first reading of an ordinance amending section 311.02 of the codified ordinances of the city of Chiillicothe, Ohio.
This item will move to our next agenda, item number 4.
Item number 4 is the first reading of an ordinance reappropriating funds to partially pay for the replacement of a damaged police cruiser and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer,
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion at this time to waive the 3-read rule on this item.
Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Mr. Greg Phillips. Roll call on the motion.
Payne,
Yes.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 5.
Item number 5 is the first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating an Ohio Bureau of Workers' Compensation Safety Intervention Grant, accepting the terms of the grant, and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer, I'd like to make a motion on this item to waive the 3-read rule, please.
Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Ms. Payne. Roll call on that motion.
Barnes,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
The motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 6.
Item number 6 is the first reading of an ordinance declaring a certain city-owned CAT 420 backhoe obsolete and not needed, authorizing the safety service director to trade in said backhoe toward the purchase of a new backhoe and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer, I would like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on item 6.
Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Ms. Nickerson. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Nickerson,
Yes.
Payne,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Payne,
Yes.
Greg Phillips,
Yes.
Preston,
Yes.
Barnes,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
Anthony Phillips,
Yes.
Prohl,
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 7.
Item number 7 is the first reading of an ordinance appropriating $7,500 for tornado siren repairs and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer, I would like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on item 7, please.
Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Mr. Prohl. Roll call on the motion to waive the 3-read rule.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Barnes.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 8.
Item number 8 is the first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating $400 received from the Ross County Auditor's Office for the Chiillicothe Police Department's participation in a mental health first aid training.
President Geringer, I would like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on item number 8, please.
I'm going to read it again because I didn't add the emergency language. So it is the first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating $400 received from the Ross County Auditor's Office for the Chiillicothe Police Department's participation in a mental health first aid training and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer,
Yes, Ms. Preston.
I would like to make a motion to waive the 3-read rule on this item.
Motion by Ms. Preston, seconded by Ms. Payne. Roll call on that motion.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Brown.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 9.
Item number 9 is the first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating $577.07 received from the Public Entities Pool of Ohio for the replacement and setting of the floodlight at the head of Yoctangi Park and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer. I know it's Miss Preston's night to shine, but I would like to ask that we waive the 3-read rule on this item of legislation.
Motion by Mr. Phillips, seconded by Ms. Payne. Roll call on that motion.
Prohl.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Item number 10.
Item number 10 is the first reading of an ordinance accepting and appropriating $9,452.07 received from public entities. Did I just read that one? Pool of Ohio for the replacement of streetlight fixtures that were damaged due to automobile accidents and declaring an emergency.
This item will move to our next agenda. Item number 11.
Item number 11 is the first reading of a resolution granting use of the municipal parking lot on the corner of 4th and Paint Streets to Paper City Mentoring Project for their Maker Fair on September 3rd, 2023.
This item will move to our next agenda, item number 12.
Item number 12 is the first reading of a resolution expressing cooperation and granting use of a certain portion of Paint Street to Chiillicothe Yellow Day organizers for the Yellow Day celebration on May 5th, 2023, and declaring an emergency.
President Geringer,
Mr. Phillips.
I would like to ask to waive the 3-read rule on this item of legislation.
Motion by Mr. Greg Phillips, seconded by Ms. Payne. Roll call on that motion.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Motion passes. Roll call on the resolution.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
The resolution passes. Item number 13.
Item number 13 is the first reading of an ordinance authorizing the mayor to enter into an agreement with Hope Partnership and appropriating $20,000.
President Geringer,
Mr. Phillips.
I would like to ask that we waive the 3-read rule on this. Thank you. Already waived that. But thank you. Just
Motion,
I think we're dotting I's here, so we're good.
motion by Mr. Greg Phillips, seconded by Mr. Brown. Roll call on the motion.
Payne.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.
The motion passes. Roll call on the ordinance.
Prohl.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
The ordinance passes. Does anyone have any additional items that they'd like to bring up at this time? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting? Motion by Ms. Payne, seconded by Mr. Greg Phillips. Roll call on that motion.
Anthony Phillips.
Yes.
Preston.
Yes.
Greg Phillips.
Yes.
Payne.
Yes.
Nickerson.
Yes.
Barnes.
Yes.
Brown.
Yes.
Prohl.
Yes.